Alrighty, guys. It is 3:30 this Monday, August 3rd, first trading day of August, and we got just a massive rally on our hands. Fantastic. I love it. It's much better than I thought it would be. This morning we started off and we started off Friday with a nice little pop, and then they backed off right into the close. It gapped up going into today's trading, given the Iranian situation, but that thing can change in a heartbeat. However, the market liked it starting off August. It could also be a follow through of all this freaking selling we had in July. I was concerned about that starting off. If it was like a fake out and they're going to start taking that lower. Nasdaq didn't look too pretty this morning, but everything turned around right at the open, and the buying programs kicked in, and we were just net to the upside. And right, look at this. We are at the highs right now going into the close, and almost looks like they want to pop it into the close. So who knows? Maybe we'll get some new highs before we close the market. So I had to say this was a very positive surprise, and we'll start from the long side. So let's start from the long side, going into the overnight. Look to buy weakness. That's always the default, right? I would not be surprised, by the way, if we get a little bit of selling in the last part of the day. That's still profit taking. Start ending up on a slow closing on a high note is fairly uncommon. So usually they can run it pretty good into that last 10 minutes and maybe get some selling, or maybe even after the close. So we'll see. But right now, no matter what happens, we're going to look to buy weakness going into the overnight, all the way down to this level, the 75.95s. These single print Cs, if they start taking those out, I would be a lot more concerned about the retracement. But retracing these support areas down to that 7600 or 75.90 to 7600 level, definitely these two support areas. And I would key in on that lower one, the 75.90 to 95. If that comes out into the in the overnight, I would be not as positive about the long side. But that's kind of the way I would start it off, and let's see what happens. I tried to get on a long trade here. I mean, I missed this rally in the last update going to 130. We were looking at this rally. They did pop it a little bit more, but here you have a little. You see that little exhaustion. That's a typical setup. A big fat bar it tells you they have a lot of volume on that bar. These equi bars, and a little bit of, you can see how net buying was pretty good on that bar. And that's usually an exhaustion right at the 2 o'clock hour. So then the reason I have this big green stripe here is right because of that. So with a exhaustion right at 2 o'clock, I'm expecting some sort of reversal. It did back off a bit, but didn't quite end up with a reversal. They just kind of went sideways. So the exhaustion just marked the top on this time, the top of action, and we've been going sideways since. Retesting this high, it's grinding up here. And we'll see if they can hold on to this, or we're getting into that part where they're going to start a little bit of profit taking into the close. We'll see. But right now, it's anyone's guess. I would say if you want to look for profit taking, wait for them to take out this JKL ledge at 76.25. That would be the rotation down. If that comes out and they start trading below it, maybe start looking for a pullback to get short into the close. But trading late into the day like this is usually difficult, because if you end up in a loser, you have nowhere to go. There's no time left to repair it, to fix anything. So I usually don't try to trade it unless there's a really obvious trade. So I would just sit on the sidelines. If they start pulling back pretty hard, maybe try to join in for a quick scalp. If not, just gonna sit it out and then wait for tomorrow's trading. So, but starting off on the long side, and if for some reason they start taking out the highs and just keep going higher into the close, well, we'll take that too. We're still going to start from the long side and look to buy weakness as the next session opens. Pretty darn good start of August, I have to say. Nasdaq also massively surprising how strong that got. So starting off from a real hole, right? They were down here, way down. They were down right testing this support at a 28, 450s, 400s. They were trading down here, and they opened, they took it even lower. And then they reversed it, and look at that. They're right up here on their way, heading up towards that 29, 300. Not quite there. They've got some resistance in between. And they stalled a bit on this 890, 900 level. It's not a very obvious level. It's just the rotation down on that prior distribution. But I would start off from the long side again. And on the Nasdaq, I would hold off. I look to buy weakness down to this level, the DE shift. So that would be the single print, the D print. If that starts coming out, I would be more concerned about the long side and going back range bound. If you want to look for a trade into the close, watch these single print I prints and start trading below those. And maybe try a short trade and see if they're going to retrace it further into the close. So that's the way I would look at it in this last part of the day. But again, trading late in the session, not something you want to be super aggressive on. I would just be a little bit less aggressive on that. But a pretty darn spectacular day, though. I did take two trades. One was I did take, maybe there was three trades. Sorry, three trades. I took one more trade. The first two trades was earlier on. That was in the initial run up here, in the initial stall. I tried two short trades at resistance. None of them worked. And then you can see after that, the whole grind started. I did not try to engage that on the short side. Trying to get short against that at that point is just you're not paying attention at that point. If it starts grinding like that, you'll be on the wrong side at every time. On the way down here, at the final run up here to the 950s in K period, they started backing off pretty good. Take out the tablet. You see how they turned the tablet right there, back down here, and then you see this action here. You see when they stall at 890s, they grind, and this action here, when you see it grinding like this, usually it leads into a little bit of a snapback. So when this bar started forming here, they started taking that out the high and backed off a little bit. I tried a long trade. So I got long there, and I was waiting for a pretty good snapback, but it was sitting there for like not 2-3 minutes, but for a good minute, churning, trying to figure out what to do. And I figured like, okay, if it's not gonna snap back, I mean, this could also be another retest of that low. So I got out of that trade. So 650 on three trades so far. Nothing much to brag about, but yeah, then of course after like 5 minutes or so, they start taking this higher. And then of course you've got this shake at, right? You see that big bar right up into the tablet, then knock it down hard. So if you try to get long on the way up here, you'll find yourself just shaking out just to see it keep going your direction. Typical freaking Nasdaq trading. But I was in that long trade, good trade location. My stop was below this area, so and after it went to break even, I was watching it. It's not going, it's not moving, it's not. So I guess got out of it and got my money back, my commission back, if you wish. But it hasn't really moved. It didn't snap back the way I thought it would. Usually they run right up to the highs, maybe higher. Haven't done that. They just run up here and then just been going sideways grinding. So watching it for a potential failure trade on the Nasdaq to start blowing through this area, the 880s on the way down into the close, I would maybe join a short trade. And if they start taking out the highs here, well, that's going to stay on the long side. So there you have it on the ES and the Nasdaq. Starting off from the long side, both of them. Watch the single print on the Nasdaq, the D prints, and on the ES, watch the C prints for potential change in bias. Finally, the bonds. Not much to say about it. Had a couple of good setups in the morning, but I got faked out by this stuff. The first part was in before the open, then they ran it lower. This pullback here, it's a 40, like they're retesting each other, like pretty good setup. If you're thinking about the short side, I wasn't that sold on the short side at that point, but I missed out on the big trade there. And then of course hard retracement and absolute nothing at the midpoint. And then after that, they pretty much went sideways. So difficult trading on the bonds. I think they're trying to figure out what to do next. Too many cross currents, I guess. So anyway, starting off range bound on the bonds, no particular bias. If anything, I would favor the short side still, looking to sell strength at this point against the 08s, maybe up to the 12s for rotations down. And finally, cryptos. Nice move in silver. Look at that. I should have been on top of that thing. Missed it. So watching this thing, the silver starts trading higher. And I figured that getting short against this upper chance, like, nah, I'm gonna just kind of hold, and then start taking a little bit higher. And I figured maybe a short up there. And I was thinking short side as they were trading higher, but I never really acted on it. I was just kind of watching it, trying to figure out what was going on. But look at this rally right up to the mean and then some. Actually, to the mode is where they went this time. So these are the mean and the mode big attractors. Gold back up to the mean. Oil kind of holding around 80. We'll see if that Iranian thing actually comes to pass or not, what happens there. But right now, I'm not keeping any hopes up on that thing. All right, so back to the ES and the Nasdaq, and So a pretty good trading day, I had to say. On the long side, if you traded from the long side, got in a couple of trades, so I've been probably in good shape. Um, but a trade day like this is much harder to trade than it looks. After the fact, it looks obvious, right? But as it's keep trading higher and you're running into resistance areas, you're kind of thinking about, oh, yeah, should this get short against this retest or not? Even you have setups which looks decent, right? You have one, two, the third setup over here, for instance, on the Nasdaq, start pulling back a little bit. That would have been a potential short trade. It would have been a shakeout, but it didn't. None of these short trades really went far. So they have made breakout if you had good trade location, and if you had shitty trade location, you would be stuck in a loser. So difficult trading when it looks like that. Now, if you catch on a good trade from the get-go on the right side of it, the longer you get long and you kind of have a little bit of patience, yeah, you can make a good coin out of that thing. You get in here on the pullback, and if you have the wherewithal to sit through this, even if you did trade the breakout, it would have been a little bit of wherewithal to sit through it. Patience, difficult thing. Anyway, we'll wrap it there for now, guys, and I'll see you back bright and early in the morning. We'll go at this again. So, well, just before I leave, the news for tomorrow, what do we have on tap? We got international trade, factory orders, and jolts coming out tomorrow. Anyway, we'll leave it there. I'll see you back in the morning. Later.